You know, sometimes in history, you come across a story that just doesn't seem to add up. A story about a peace treaty that looked like a total humiliation, but was somehow called a clear victory. This is that story. A story about how patience can turn what looks like a defeat into the biggest win of all.
So that's the big puzzle we're going to unpack. How is it possible for a deal that seems like a complete surrender to actually be the very thing that leads to your greatest success? It sounds kind of backward, right? Well, the answer is all about seeing the bigger picture.
Okay, so to really get this, we need a little bit of backstory. For years, the early Muslim community had moved to the city of Medina, but they were pretty much in a constant state of conflict with the powerful Quraysh tribe back in their hometown of Mecca. The vibe was just nonstop tension and hostility.
Then, 6 years after leaving Mecca, the Prophet Muhammad does something pretty unexpected. He and about 1,400 of his followers head towards Mecca. But here's the thing. They're unarmed, wearing simple pilgrim clothes. Their goal wasn't fight, it was to perform a peaceful pilgrimage, the Umrah.
But they get stopped at a place called Hudaybiyah, and after some really tense negotiations, they sign a treaty. And the terms? Wow. They were just staggering. The Muslims had to go home without even doing their pilgrimage. And get this, if anyone from Mecca fled to join the Muslims had to send them back. But if a Muslim fled to Mecca, the Quraysh didn't have to do a thing. To everyone there, it looked like a complete and utter surrender.
And you can imagine how the Prophet's companions felt, right? They were just confused, frustrated. This felt like a total humiliation. Why would they agree to terms that were so one-sided? It just looked weak.
But then, and this is the absolute turning point, on the journey back to Medina, something incredible happens. A revelation comes down from God that completely reframes the entire event. The Quran itself calls this treaty, this apparent defeat, a clear victory. Just that one line changed everything. So how on earth was this a victory? I mean, it makes no sense on the surface. But this is where we see the genius of the long game. This wasn't a setback, it was a strategic pivot.
See, the treaty did something battles never could. It just stopped the fighting. It created peace. And in that peace, something incredible happened. The message of Islam wasn't being spread on a battlefield anymore. It was being shared in conversations. People could now meet Muslims, talk to them, and learn about the faith without any fear. And the result? It was an explosion of growth. In just 2 years of peace, more people joined Islam than in the 18 previous years of struggle combined. That was the real victory.
So this peace holds for a solid 2 years, and the Muslim community is just thriving. But things don't stay peaceful forever. As you see here, allies of the Quraysh broke the deal by attacking a tribe that was friendly with the Muslims. The treaty was broken, and now a response was unavoidable.
So the Prophet marches to Mecca, and this time he's got a massive army with him. But, and this is so important, this wasn't about revenge. After years and years of being persecuted, this was about setting things right. It was going to be a victory defined by mercy, not force.
And this is the moment the whole story has been building to. The Prophet is now standing in front of the very people who fought him, who kicked him out of his home, who hurt his followers for 20 years. He asks them, "What do you think I'm going to do to you?" I mean, they're expecting the worst. But instead, he says these unbelievable words, "Go, for you are free." No revenge, no punishment, just absolute forgiveness. So what happens next is just a total transformation of the city. First, there's that incredible act of mass forgiveness that heals decades of conflict. Then, the Prophet peacefully goes into the sacred Kaaba, this ancient house of worship, and he cleanses it of all 360 idols that were inside. He basically restored Mecca to its original purpose, a place to worship the one God.
And that right there, that completely redefines what victory even means, doesn't it? It's not about who wins on the battlefield. A true victory is a moral one. It's winning people's hearts and minds, not with a sword, but with mercy, justice, and forgiveness.
Okay, so that's a powerful story from, over 1,400 years ago, but what does it have to do with us right now in our daily lives? Well, the wisdom here is totally timeless.
And that really leaves us with a huge question to think about. In our world today, which is so often about getting instant results and getting even, this story is a real challenge. In our own lives, with our own conflicts, maybe at work or at home, when can we use the patience of Hudaybiyah? When can we take a small loss now for a much bigger peace later? And maybe even more important, when we're in a position of power, can we choose the path of Mecca? Can we choose forgiveness over revenge and build a bridge instead of burning it down? That's the real lesson here. How to win the things that actually matter.